Right now, our view controller is the UI Picker view data source. Okay? It's providing the data that's populating the picker view. And really, a view controller shouldn't be concerned with creating the data. So should that go in our unit converter model? Well, a unit converter file is just concerned with converting units. It shouldn't be dealing with temperature values. So where should that information go? And so to solve that, we're going to introduce the idea of what's called a view model. It's an object whose only purpose is just to set up the view. So we're going to implement that functionality, the idea of a view model. Let's create a new class, Command N. It'll be a Swift file. And I'm going to call it temperature range. Okay, so I have my new temperature range. And I'm going to create a class called temperature range. Okay, again, it's an empty class. It doesn't do much right now. So this is going to be concerned with setting up the temperature range. Well, how do we get that to our view controller? Well, let's go ahead and click on our main storyboard. So this temperature range is going to become the data source for our view controller. And so it's eventually going to have to adopt the UI Picker View data source protocol, and we're going to have to make it the new connection to the picker view. So first thing I'm going to do is let me open up the document outline again so I can see what's in my view. And I'm going to add what's called an object, a generic object. I'm going to open my object library up and Option Command L, and I'm going to type in object. Okay. And again, you can see it provides a template for objects and controllers not directly available. There is no temperature range object available. We're going to create our own. So let's go ahead and drag it to the view controller scene. Just going to add it in there. And you can see I now have an object. I'm going to rename it to temperature range. So I'm going to go ahead and rename that. Temperature range. What we're going to do is we're going to set our temperature range class to control this object. So I'm going to go to the identity inspector, which is Option Command 3. And it says, with this object highlighted, what class will control that object? I'm just going to start typing in temperature range. And now that class will control my temperature range object. So let's go ahead and select my picker view. And let's go to the connections inspector. So it's Option Command 6, and it shows me which connections my picker view has. Well, we're going to delete the data source connection. So right now it shows that the data source is connected to the view controller. So let's take that away. So now my view controller is no longer the source of data for this picker. Let's make it our temperature range object. So I'll just, since my connections inspector is open, I'll just drag from here to temperature range. So now this object is the data source for my picker view. So let's go ahead and run this to see, and hopefully you have an idea of what's going to happen next. And as I hope you would figure it out, it did crash. And if we look at the error, it says unrecognized selector. And again, that's because while we did, let me stop this, while we did create a new data source, our temperature range does not implement the view picker data source protocol. It does not implement those methods, so we're going to get that error. So we have to fix that before this will work correctly, and we'll do that next.